Seeds and Civilization by Joan Elma Rahn, out of the A Flint Holds Fire textbook. How long can we keep a ripe, juicy tomato or peach on the kitchen table? Usually only for a few days, because soon it will become soft. Then it begins to rot and is no longer good to eat. Fresh fruit will last longer in a refrigerator, but in a few weeks it too will begin to rot. If we wish to keep fruit still longer, we must freeze it, can it, or dry it. How long can we keep dried beans or popping corn in the kitchen? We can keep them for many months or even a few years if the mice do not find them. As long as they do not become wet, beans and popping corn will remain good to eat. In the history of man, such seeds have became very important as a source of food. A long time ago, more than 10,000 years ago, there were no cities. There were no supermarkets in which to buy food. When fruit was ripe, people had to gather it and eat it within a few days. The same was true of vegetables. To get meat, people had to kill wild animals. Because meat could not be kept, it too had to be eaten within a few days. All this meant that the people had to go wherever fruits and vegetables were ripe. They had to go where wild animals lived. They had to spend most of their time searching for food. One of the foods people ate was the kernels of wild wheat plants. These kernels are fruits. Not juicy fruits like peaches, but small, hard fruits. Each kernel contains one dry seed. The kernels can be stored for a long time, just like dried beans and popping corn. Then one springtime, someone dropped a few kernels on the ground. The kernels started growing. In a few days, the seeds inside the kernels sprouted into wheat plants. The plants grew, and in a few months they produced many new kernels. Someone else found that the wheat kernels could be stored over the winter, and the seeds inside would sprout the following year. People learned that if they planted seeds, they would later get much more food than if they searched for it in the forests and fields. So they planted beans, peas, and many other kinds of seeds. Each year they saved some of the seeds to plant the next year. Soon people learned to capture wild animals and feed them some of the kernels. They no longer had to hunt for fresh meat. For the first time, people had learned to be farmers. Farmers must tend their plants. They must water them when the weather is dry. They must pull out weeds growing between the plants. Animals too must be cared for. People built homes near the plants and animals. They spent less time traveling and more time thinking and getting new ideas. Groups of farmers began to live together in villages. When people lived near each other, they would talk to each other and exchange food and tools. Some people thought of better ways to care for their plants. Others made new tools like the plow, which helped them to raise more food. Still others became good at making clothes or wagons or weapons. Each person would make one or two kinds of things, and then exchange what he produced for other things that other people made. Without seeds that could be stored and then planted, civilization might never have started. There might be no houses or clothing, but just enough food to keep people alive. Instead of reading this book, you might be in a forest or field looking for food. If you found it, all would be well for another day. If you did not, you would be hungry tonight.